Welcome back, everybody. My name is Joe. This is Work Hard RC, and today we're going to be painting the Little Guy Racing Parts X Factor body. As promised, I'm going to go over how I paint them, how I prep it, how I put the decals on, and we're also going to be using some paint markers to add a little bit more detail. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so if you guys watched any of our other videos, including the full build on the Little Guy Racing Part X Factor chassis, I promised that I would go ahead and do a painting video of the clear body that we had ordered during the sale. So here it is. I just opened it, and we're going to go ahead and prep it for paint, and I'll show you what I go through for that process. In the packaging, you also get stickers. You also get the stickers to allow you to put over the windows so you don't have to mask those off. That is done for you, and you'll put those on the inside, and I'll show you guys that in a little while. We're going to be using paint markers. Now, these acrylic paint markers are the ones I posted in another video that I did when I showed you how I did my cartoon body, and I'll link that here on the top so you guys can check that out if you haven't already. So those are the paint markers that I use. These are acrylic based by Chocola. And I'll link those as well so you guys can order those should you guys want to use them for what I do here. Now, as an example, I get a lot of people asking me on this body how I got that black and did I mask it off. Well, what I did is I first painted the indentations there with these, which allowed me to get that two-tone color there. So that's a little secret there if you guys wanted to know how I did that. So just so you guys know, we'll be using those as well for this body. I also use the Tamiya color paints. We are going to be painting this on the inside of the body. Now, I know there's a lot of videos out there to show you how to paint bodies, but I haven't done one yet, so here's my version of how I do it. So I'm indecisive on if I want to do black as the main color or white as the main color. So we're going to see what I decide to go with, whether the decal is going to be black or the decal is going to be white, and the truck be all black or the truck be all white. We'll figure that out here soon. I will be going with a matte color, so we have the matte Clear by Tamiya, and this will go on the outside of the body, so that'll be one of the very last things that we do. So just know that I am going to go for a matte color scheme on this. And as I showed you guys in a past video, we are going to be using the decals from Little Guy Racing Parts, and I'll show you how I prep that Toyota onto the back of the tailgate. As you can see, I already used some of the decals in another project, so we're going to cut out the ones we want to use. Again, as I go along the video, I'm going to decide, do I want to use the decals or not? I'm still not sure if I want to go with all black. The only reason I decided to change the color scheme, I was going to do another red body. However, I just got my hands on the X Factor chassis. Now, that's more of like the roll cage you put onto the X Factor or the chassis itself. So that roll cage is going to go right over here. And I decided maybe I'll go a different look. It does have seats that go inside of it, so I'll be changing out the motor and some other things, but because of that body now being in stock, and I ordered it, which I'll be getting a little bit later today and installing that later, I may change the color scheme. I'm just not sure what I want to do. So initially I want to go with something bright, maybe something just dark, but I think the black and the white is going to look good. So we'll see what we go with here soon. But let's go ahead and delve into it, and I'll show you how I prep the body. Alright, so what I have on the table is the X Factor body here. Now, we'll be using the chassis and some other pieces of the chassis to kind of get things lined up as I'm doing this project. So if you guys have that available, make sure you have that at hand. I will be using also this tape that'll help me to align certain things, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. I'll be using this tool here with a few screws to kind of line things up as well. And then, of course, we have the body, and we're going to need the bumper. So if you have that installed or you have it attached to the chassis, make sure to take that off. You're going to need that for the spacing of the holes. And then, of course, we'll have the decals. We'll have our scissors. Now, you don't need the paints yet, but I do have the paints here. You will need these at some point here soon as we get the body prepped. But what I like to do first is totally prep everything as far as the holes first in the rear bumper, get that hinge and everything installed so that we can size things up. Once I have that done and installed, what we'll do is we'll size up that front hole and drill that, and I'll show you the drill bits that we use. So the drill bits you're going to be using for the bumper, I've had success with this size here. This is the 1/16 drill bit. That'll be for the rear bumper right here, those 2, 4, 6 holes there. And then in the front, you're going to use the 764, and that's going to allow you to make that hole for the, let me get this back in here. That's going to allow you to make that hole here in the front, so when you install that hood pin latch there, it'll be nice and straight. So what I usually do is I'll take the body, and I'll take the bumper, and I'll essentially just by hand install it so that it's nice and straight the way it's supposed to be, just like that. And as you can see, being it's clear, you can see right through it and see where that hole is. And then what I'll do is I'll take a marker. You also need a marker, permanent marker. And you will just simply mark the holes on either side, and then on the inside where you want those holes drilled for the bumper. Now I've already done that, and I'll show you where those holes are. So once those holes are marked with the marker, you take that off. And I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but you can see there the permanent marker has left those marks where the holes are going to be going. So I'll drill those first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so once we have those holes drilled, we're going to go ahead and install the rear bumper. Now, it doesn't come with any type of screws. You will need to provide your own screws to get these to get this bumper mounted onto the body. So if you guys have any spare screws, I tend to use the smaller screws for the side, and then the ones that are a little bit longer for the back. And I'll show you what I mean here. So that's about as small as I get it. So I'm going to get that to focus a little bit. Either way, small ones. And then I essentially just screw that in to the bumper through the body. And it should be fairly easy once it catches. All right, so we have that side in. I don't put these on too tight because this is a 3D printed piece and I don't want to crack it. So I just loosely put it in for now just to kind of get things ready to go and started. Now you don't necessarily need to put all 4 of the ones in the back. I'll just go ahead and put 2 of them just to kind of keep everything in place. Actually, you know what we're going to need is this piece here, this bracket, in order to actually get that into place. So let me go to get this bracket in right now so you guys can see where that goes. That bracket's essentially going to hold the screws in place since the bumper does not have any threads in the rear. But since it's see-through, you can actually see very clearly where that bracket goes. When it's painted, it's a little bit harder, but while it's clear, it makes things a little bit easier. Oh, this side is having a little bit of issues. Alright, get that through, just line up the bracket. So we're having a little bit of issues that bracket catching. Sometimes there's a little bit of movement as you're drilling in, but not too much where it's going to cause too many issues. So we got both of them caught there, and now we have that bracket and that bumper installed. Now what I'm going to do from this point is essentially I'm going to install this body onto the chassis itself. The reason why I'm going to do that is because I'm going to be marking the hole where the pin is going to go in the front. All right, so once we have that installed, we're going to go ahead and line up the body with the rails here on the side so that everything is nice and straight. Once I have that lined up and nice and straight like that, you'll see through where that hood pin is going to be installed. Now I'm going to go ahead, things are kind of popping out here. I'm going to go ahead and make that dot right there so that everything's nice and aligned. See if we can get that a little bit more even. So just like that, I'm going to make a dot with a permanent marker right there where the hood pin hole is going to go. All right, so we have that now ready for the hood pin hole. I'm going to see if I can drill it without having to take anything apart here. Just want to check the alignment visually before I drill that through. So for that one, we're going to use the 764 drill bit. That'll allow us enough room to get that through and to get that hood pin in. Usually what I like to do, see if I can do this here with the other drill bit, is I'll at least kind of push a little hole to kind of get it started so that the drill bit doesn't move as I get it going here. Sometimes you can even get it through with a smaller drill bit just by hand, which tends to help because it really keeps everything in place when you take that larger drill bit in there. And it looks like we were able to get that through just by hand. That's really going to help if you decide to put this pin. Some folks use magnets. I just like to use the pins for these builds. A lot easier to get in and out of these builds with the pin. So now that we have that started, you give it just a little bit of pressure. Comes out clean. You do want to make sure you get all the excess plastic out from the inside, and the razor that you have should come in handy for that. Just because it's going to be painted from the inside, you want to make sure that's nice and clean and smooth. So looks like we have that done up pretty good there. We're going to go ahead and close this body up with the pin. Looks like it's not wanting to go through. Let's go make this a little bit cleaner. Sometimes with the drill, the plastic tends to get hot, but if we need to go up in a size, we can do that. Let me go up one more. So we're going to go from the 764 to the 1/8. Make this hole just a little bit bigger. And again, it's just ever so slightly bigger there. And then looks like we're good to go. So we have that in there just like that. I'm going to throw the hood pin on to kind of see what it looks like as far as all the spacing. So that looks perfect. Probably the best I've done yet. So that's what that looks like when it's all spaced out. Looking pretty good. And as you tuck the sides into the rails there, you can see how that looks. Now I was hoping I didn't have to trim anything, but it looks like I will have to trim just a little off the front and just in the back here. So I'll probably have to trim it just a little bit here in the back and in the front. The rear looks to be just fine. I won't have to trim anything back there on this particular chassis. Now this chassis, as you're looking at it, is the one that was in my video. I'm going to be putting the X Factor chassis roll cage on this. So if you saw how I had that set up, you'll know that how the springs and everything are set up. So again, I'll have to just remove just a little bit of material just from the rear here. And it looks like I'll have to remove a little bit. And again, we're talking just a small amount from the front, just near the lights there in the front. I'm going to try to leave the fender as much intact as I can, just because in the other builds I've had, I've really taken that entire fender off. So I'm going to try to leave that intact as much as I can. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the body and make some adjustments. And I don't necessarily need to show that on camera, but I will do it off camera. Make those adjustments, do a final test fit, take everything apart, and then we'll prep it more for paint. All right, so we have everything nice and trimmed up. So from the looks of everything that I can see here, we have the ability to turn right and left without having any rubbing. And this is with the shocks completely depressed. And if I were to move side to side, I don't have very much rubbing at all. So I may have to tweak the ride height just a little bit to get that perfect, but on the most part, I think that's gonna work. I didn't have to trim too much, and I kept most of that body intact. So that's gonna be great. And again, I didn't have to trim anything on the rear, so that's perfect the way that it is. Now what I'm gonna do is take off the body, remove it from the hinge here, and then take off the rear bumper so that we can proceed to add the decals to the body. Now, I'm going to show you how I get the Toyota writing, or the, I guess, emblem, whatever you want to call it, in place, and how I prep that. Now, that is a little bit of a task, because sometimes if you do it with the two pieces that it comes with, because I believe it says toy on one side and then Yoda on the other side. Now, if you don't do it right, it can become misaligned, or if you try to size it up by eyeball and maybe sticking it, thinking you're going to be able to unstick it, these decals are really sticky. So their ability to stay on the body is great, but once you stick it on there, it really can't come off easily, and if it does, you'll lose that tackiness to reinstall it. And you only have maybe like 3 or 4 shots to do it. I've already used one of the decals that say Toyota, so we're going to use one more. I believe after that there's one more after. So just know that you do have at least 3 tries to get it should you mess up a couple of the decals. So once this bumper is removed, we're going to move on to that part and to get all that set up. Now, this part won't be installed until the very end, so you can kind of put this off to the side once everything's dry. You're going to want to give this plenty of time to dry once you do the first layer. The reason why I messed up my red body is because I painted the white stripe sooner than the red paint had dried, so it did bleed just a little bit. Now, I did give it probably a few hours. I probably should have just given it the entire night, just to be safe. But now that that's ready to go, I'm going to figure out which decals I want to install. But first, let's go ahead and cut out this toy here, where it says toy, and then the other side that says Yoda. So I'm going to trim those off. I'm going to try to get it as close to the writing as possible without cutting into the decal itself. And I'll show you and tell you why that reason is here in a little bit. So let me just trim that off. Try to make my lines as straight as possible. Once I have that off, we're just going to trim around the Toyota. And again, get as close to the bottom as you can without trimming or cutting into the decal. And again, that'll make sense here in a little bit once I show you the step that really helped me get everything nice and aligned. So we have the toy there. Now we're going to go ahead and cut out where it says Yoda. Now you can choose to keep one or the other. It's really your preference, but I like to have it all intact with the writing. So again, on this Yoda piece, you just want to keep it as close to the letters as possible. Now you will have to cut off one of these Y's. It's just a matter of preference which one you decide to cut off. Now, more than likely cut off the Y on the Yoda so that I have a kind of symmetrical piece of decal to work with. So if I turn this around, you'll see how I cut those 2 pieces off like that, as close to the writing as I can. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this green masking tape, and I'm going to essentially trim it to the size of that indentation there where the Toyota is going to go. And I'll just take off a piece that I think is about long enough, and then I'll trim it accordingly. So we're just going to go ahead and set one side and then to the other side. I'm going to kind of tape it there so that I can see where the indentation is. I'm just going to take my razor and just cut off right at the line where that piece ends. And then I'll do the same on the other side. I don't know if I got close enough there. I have to put that razor down a little bit more to give it a nice cut. As you can see there, that green tape is where the indentation is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tape off and try to keep it without ripping. And then what I'll do is I'm going to set this down on my table. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it right at the very end of this tweezer here. Trying to keep everything nice and aligned so that it's straight on this straight line like this here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm essentially going to stick this logo, this Toyota emblem, the wording here, onto the tape and make sure that I get this piece nice and centered so that when I actually put it onto the body, it's all ready to go. And again, the reason why I did that is kind of from trial and error. I initially messed up my first one because I kind of did it by hand and did each piece at one time, and it did not turn out the way that I wanted. So it kind of looked crooked. Well, not kind of, it is actually crooked. You can still see it. So once I kind of have that set and straight and somewhat aligned, I'm going to go ahead and just stick this and center it to this green tape here. Just like that. Once I have it on the green tape, then I'll remove the film on the top side of that decal. Just make sure it's nice and stuck on there. I'm going to go ahead and remove the film with my tweezers, which I just had in my hand. Actually, they're in my hand right there. Let's use the razor to take off that film. You'll see it like that with the Toyota. Now, essentially, if I do this right without messing up, I should be able to line up this tape to the back of the... This is where it gets kind of tricky here. To the back of this rectangle. And then I should just be able to stick this on and then press it down and I'll be good. And everything should be aligned. See if I can get that. Now that I have my tweezers available again, just grab it here in the middle. We'll see if I can set that down without messing anything up too badly. Looks decently straight. I'm not going to overthink it. We're just going to go ahead and stick it down. It might be just a little bit crooked, but not too bad. Let's see if we can take that off and take a look at it here. I can live with it. I think this is probably not the worst one I've done. It's definitely not the best one. This green tape does stick on there pretty well. Let's see if we can get it all off in one piece here. Alright. Doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to slide it up a little bit with our fingers there. Slide this piece down. Not too bad. Not too bad. Alright, now we're going to move the film, the back of the decal. It's kind of a challenge when I haven't. Alright. We got one piece off. And the second piece off. Not too bad. A little bit crooked, but not too bad at all. Gave it our best shot. But that process that I use, on the most part, does help keep things pretty close to being centered. So there it is. Make sure that's nice and pressed down so no paint gets in between the decal and the body. Just like that. Now the part that I need to decide if I'm going to put any more decals on it, if I'm going to keep it all black or all white. I'm still undecided. I might keep it all white, we'll see. But let's go ahead and put the decals for the windshield and the rest of the windows. I usually just tend to peel up a corner, and then I'll grab my tweezers and I'll grab it right in the center, if I can, without putting too many fingerprints on it. And then I'll essentially just put this onto the front windshield, place it down, and then stick it, trying to get any air bubbles. And looks like we're successful getting no air bubbles on this one. So we have our windshield masked off there. Then I tend to do the rear next, no particular order, just as long as you get it done. Doing the same method, grabbing it in the middle, and then just kind of sizing it up where it falls into the indentations of what the window is. Seems to be really stuck onto the tweezers here. Let me see if I can get that unstuck. Get that a little more straight. Alright, looks like we're pretty good there. And then once you have these placed, make sure you get all of the air, especially around the ends, because you don't want any of that paint seeping through. You can always clean it up, but it does make unnecessary extra work. So make sure those are nice and stuck along the edges especially. Make sure you get all that air out if you can. So we have the rear done to there. Now we're going to put the side windows. Now, given this X Factor chassis, like roll cage I'm putting on this, I'll probably keep the windows clear, just so you can see the chassis, since it does look pretty cool. Alright, so we have one rear window on. So it's nice and stuck there. Let's put the second one on. Alright, so we have all of our windows masked and ready to go. Now the next part, you can decide if you want to paint that or not. On the most part I think I'm going to go ahead and do a black and white color scheme with this. Still going in between on what color I should do, but maybe I'll just black it all out, just keep it somewhat simple. So we have the Toyota in the back. I may just go ahead and just keep it all blacked out, and we'll do a matte color. So I think if I'm going to keep everything nice and matte, I'll go ahead and keep it just like that. Given that I have a red servo, maybe I'll do red and black. Maybe I'll do these in red, and then this top piece in, maybe I'll do that in red as well. Let's go ahead and do that so we can kind of show you how we do that piece. And I'll just do that briefly. We'll finish it off camera, and then we'll go from there. So essentially I take the acrylic marker, and what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll essentially trace out from the inside the Little Guy Racing Part letters here, the LGRP. And then once I have it traced out, I'll fill it in. Now these markers allow you to do pretty decent straight lines. So right there you see that L done with the acrylic marker. I'm gonna go ahead and finish all that up, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. All right, so we have this all done. We went ahead and did red. I decided instead of doing white and black or black and white, however I was gonna do it before, I'm just gonna do the entire body all black, and we're just gonna keep that red accent like that. Now you guys saw how I installed all the windshield taping and the Toyota. So we're gonna do that clear, and then that I might paint red, I might do it white. I'm not sure how I wanna do the Toyota yet, but once we have it all painted black, we're gonna go ahead and do a matte clear coat over it. But real quick, just so you guys know how I prep this to be painted. Now, it won't show me painting it on camera, but I'll show you briefly how I prep it. Is I essentially take a piece of tape like this, and I use this tape because it doesn't leave too much residue. Now, I know this still has the film on it, but I don't like dealing with too much residue in general. So we're just going to stick that to the top of the car, and then we're going to stick this to a piece of cardboard. This one I've used in the past for other projects. I'm just going to make sure that's nice and stuck on that cardboard so that I have one hand to kind of hold and paint and move around and get into different angles. So that's why I stick that onto a piece of cardboard. So I'm going to take this outside and paint it. I'll do one layer, I'll do a second layer, and then we'll probably call it good, at which point we'll be taking off some of the decals and basically finishing it up. Once I have that all done, we'll put the matte clear coat on it, but I'm going to take this outside and get it painted. All right, so we have our body back from paint. It went pretty smoothly. We let it dry for a bit. Most of the day, actually, quite a few hours. It's been drying, so we should be good as far as taking off our decals. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like without those window decals there. But the black came out very nice. We'll go and take off that Toyota as well. Now, what I'm going to do here is essentially just remove the decals off the windows. I'm going to try to save them because the goal is to be able to put those on the outside so that when we put the matte clear over it, it won't affect and put a matte on the windows. I'd like to keep those pretty glossy. If it doesn't work out, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those decals, stick it onto some blue tape, and trace it, and then put it on the outside. So we'll see if I need to do that. But first, let's just try to see if we can take them off. Looks like they're a little bit tacky, but I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to put this on the outside. So we'll have to just trace these with the blue tape and then make it work from there. All right, so we have all the masking off of the windows. Now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and leave, actually we'll probably take off the Toyota right now too. We'll get that painted red. And then we'll take off the clear on top. So that is all gone. All right, so we have that removed in the rear where it says Toyota. Now, what I'm going to do here is go ahead and color in this area here with our red marker like we did on the top without having to paint it. And then once we're done with that, we may put a spray of black just behind the red to kind of keep it all nice and even. Let's go ahead and just color that in so that it's all nice and uniform with the red that we have here on the top. All right, so looking pretty good there. You see that nice and red. I will give it a couple coats. Right now it's kind of light, but we'll do that here in a little bit. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and just peel off the film. Actually, before we peel it off, what I can do, instead of having to put that sticker, I'll probably just trim with my razor around these edges here so that I don't have to mask anything. So I'll do that now with our razor. All right, so we have all that trimmed. Hopefully all that film stays on so we don't have to mask those windows as we put the coat of the matte clear over the top. And that'll really help with the look that we're going for. See if we can start a corner here to get this film off. Usually it's not too difficult, but for whatever reason this one's being a little bit stubborn. There we go. So as I take this off, you'll see how shiny and nice. I'm going to try not to get too many fingerprints on it so that we don't have to clean it up too much as we're taking this off. But you can see how nice and shiny. Oh, looks like we're taking off some of that film. That's not good. I didn't want to have to mask that. Let's see if we can get that back on there. All right. Kept some of it on there. And it looks like the windshield might be good too. Alright. It'll be a little bit slower where I trimmed. Hopefully it stays on. If not, we can always mask it. I was just hoping to save myself a little bit of time. Looks like the rear window is good. Looks like this window is good. All right, we just got a little piece of the driver. There we go. Looks like we got most of it to stay on. We have a little piece here. We'll just trim this off. Right, looks like on the most part we were able to keep all the film on the windows, so we shouldn't have to mask anything as we spray it with the clear. But you see it nice and shiny there. Looks pretty good, but again, I do want to go with that matte finish, so we're going to just wipe this down, take it out, and spray it with our matte clear coat. And then we should be done with the exterior as far as how we want it to look. But so far, so good. Toyota looking nice and red back there. It's going to be very nice to offset. Now, I did mention earlier in the video we're going to be getting the X chassis. And we do have that now, so I may paint this red, do a future video, and if I don't, then I'll really make sure to remember to put some good videos and stuff on Instagram if you guys want to check that out. That's the X chassis that just was re-released and became in stock the other day. So there is the body. Let's go ahead and put the matte clear coat on it. Alright, so we have our body back from putting on the matte clear coat. Now again, I am using that Tamiya paint for the black, for the clear coat, just so you guys can have that as a reference if you guys want to pick up the same paint. Now, I must say it does look a little bit plain without the decals on it, but we are going to keep this very just stealthy with that red accent in the back, and then again with the red on the inside with that servo. So I think it'll look pretty good. Even with these wheels, I think it'll look great. But let's go ahead and remove the film from the windows so we kind of get that offset of that glossiness. Alright, so we have the film off. Now, if you did everything right as you're peeling that off, you will get almost 2 layers of film from the matte clear coat and then from the actual film itself. But you can see there, it looks very cool with that matte black and the clear windows. So I'm going to go ahead, put the rear bumper on, get it back installed, get it all fixed up, and we'll take a final look at it once it's all installed. Alright, so we have the bumper installed nicely there. We're gonna go ahead and get this hinged back onto the truck itself, and then we're gonna close it up and take a final look at it. Now, I won't be doing any extensive driving with it. I may take it out just to get it out in the sun on the course, and I'll probably post it at the very end. But final thoughts on just how this color came out. Came out pretty good. I haven't used the matte paint before for the outside of the body in this brand, so it's my first time using it, but it did turn out very good, given the amount of layer that it had over the film for the windows. It looks like it's going to hold up very well. If I do get any scrapes or anything like that, it won't be too hard to fix. But again, you know, it's one of those things that if you're going to take your car out, it's going to definitely get some damage, especially if you're, you know, testing it out on some rocks, or you can't quite make it up on a particular obstacle and it falls. Of course, our bodies get scraped up. But now that we know how to paint it, and these 124 scales, on the most part, they're not too expensive. I believe this body was about $30, and you know, given if you have any discounts, whether they're running a sale or if you're one of their members on their site, you can get a 15% off as well. So I know usually when they run a sale on Little Guy Racing Parts, it's about 15% off anyways. So when they had their Father's Day sale, that's what the discount was. And then going forward, I'm assuming their sales will be very similar to that. So just keep that in mind as you guys are out and about, that you guys know these kind of bodies will take damage being painted from the inside. You won't really see that as much, but now that we have that clear coat on the outside, if it does scrape, you might see some of that gloss come through. So just keep that in mind. That'll be you'll be able to see more scrapes and things given the clear coat on the outside. So looks like we have one of our hinges ready to go. Let's get that second one in there. First one gave me a little bit of issues. Hopefully the second one is easier. And it looks like it's going to be easier. Now the hole spacing for the pin should be perfect since we aligned everything when it was clear. Let's go ahead and get this closed up. Pin comes right through, or the little latch there. And now one thing to be careful with this painting on the outside now is you don't want to scrape with the hood pin the matte clear coat, but there it is. I do like it with those wheels. You can really see how that satin matte looks on the body in contrast to the windows. I'm going to go ahead and throw the stickers on so we can complete it 100%. And we have our stickers right here. I'll throw those on real quick and I'll bring it back just to show you at the end. All right, so all the stickers are installed, looking very, very good. Nice, complete look for the truck. Now, I do have the X chassis that we'll be installing onto the comp rig here. It's made for the X body, so we'll see how that goes. I may paint it red to kind of give that two-tone look, but really, really like the look of the matte color. Again, it's my first time using it. Came out very, very good. So I won't bore anybody by doing a full-on drive video, but I will put that at the very end if you guys want to watch it just out in the sun, kind of get a better look at it. But overall, I do like the way it came out. Again, I was in between adding some white or doing it all white, but I think that black stealth look looks very good, especially with that matte. So if you guys like this video, please feel free to comment. Hope you guys enjoy some of the tips and tricks I put in this video, and we'll see you guys next time.